no matter how well you are intelligent and how well you study, if you don't practice retrieval rather than rereading, you will always fail your exam. I know what it feels like to have studied and understand everything in your course context, but your result is not actually showing for it. This has actually happened to me when I was in my second year in the university. I studied every course content, I understood everything. In fact, I taught people, but the level at which I understood that course was not actually reflecting on my results. And I kept asking myself questions on how I'm going to improve until I found this particular solution. Before I show you the solution, let me try to break down what really caused this problem and how you can address it yourself if you face this particular issue. Now, first is the misaligned efforts. When this happens, you tend to focus more on the wrong thing rather than the right thing. When I had this issue, I tend to read all the course content. I try as much as possible to finish everything in the course, but then I didn't actually focus on the actual thing, that is the high yield topics. And there are past questions that I needed to study, but then I did study them. I focused on studying hard rather than studying smart. And in order for you to pass exams, you need to be strategic enough in order for you to be able to study what is going to come out. It's not everything in your book that is going to be coming out. So you have to be strategic by looking out for IU topics. The only way you can look out for these IU topics is to check your past questions. The another thing that can cause this is lack of feedback and adjustment. Everything seems to be correct when you are reading yourself and no one is there to correct you or no one is there to assess what you are doing. Now, you think everything you are reading is correct. You think everything you solved is correct. You think every step you do, it is correct until when you get to the exam hall and you discover that you didn't actually do the correct thing. Whenever you are studying, try to keep close with your colleagues, with your teachers, and anyone that knows anything that you are studying around you in order for you to be able to get feedback from them and know whether the methods that you are using are actually correct and they are the right method. And if you use a particular method to study, try as much as possible to get feedback from people that are around you instead of just having a subjective impression about what you are doing. Try as much as possible to seek for objective assessment and ask questions and ask for correction, because you might think you are doing everything right, and by the time you get to the exam hall, everything can go wrong and you start thinking that, oh, I read everything I could read, I understood everything. Now the base point is that do not go solo. Try as much as possible to seek advice and feedback for people. And from the advice you get, from the feedback you get, try as much as possible to adjust. Now, I've actually fallen into the trap of this and it has actually ruined my results especially when I was in my second year. At this point, I went solo all through. I thought I could do it myself and I thought I was making the right step. I misaligned my efforts by studying everything in the book. And there are some of my colleagues that they know, they actually get updates and they know where to focus on and where not to focus on. But me, I thought if I could read everything in the book, I am fine. Until when I didn't actually perform well in my exam. So when you are studying, try as much as possible to seek feedback from every of your study sessions, from anyone that is close to you, anyone that knows more than you. Also, from the feedback you get, try to make adjustments when it comes to your study methods and when it comes to how you solve things and your perspective about understanding things. Your perspective about what you are studying and your understanding about a particular topic might not be always true, but then you think that it is true until you seek different perspective and different view. Be able to make adjustments, and this can actually be very helpful if you have a kind of community or study group where you guys discuss and where you guys can share ideas. From there, you get feedback from what you know and you correct, then you make adjustments along the way. This can actually really help. A lot of people fail exams because no matter how well you are intelligent and how well you study, if you don't practice retrieval rather than rereading, you will always fail your exam. That happened to me several times and you should not try it. And that is the major reason why most students think that they've studied, they've done everything and they keep forgetting, because they do not practice retrieval instead of rereading. Now, a lot of students think that the consistency of rereading information can make them retain the information in their brain. This actually happened to me, specifically a particular course that I did, and I thought if I could reread everything, I would be able to remember. I stayed up all night, but then I discovered that the consistency of rereading is not as effective as consistency in retrieval. So instead of rereading the information, consistently retrieve the information from your brain. This is how it works. When you study at first, try as much as possible to cover your book and try to recall the information. The consistency should be in the recalling of the information, not the rereading of the information. Because when you stress yourself to recall the information, it strengthens the information in your brain and you won't be able to forget. But if you just continuously reread the information, you are not testing yourself to know whether that information has been solidified. In order for you to ascertain that a particular knowledge has been locked in into your brain, try as much as possible as to retrieve the information. And there are different ways you can retrieve. You can retrieve by visualization, that is visualizing what you read and kind of walking around and try to retrieve it in your mind. You can retrieve it out loud. You can write about it in your notebook by retrieving them. You can also explain to someone by retrieving it. So the repetitive way of retrieving that particular information that you want to learn in different contexts, it will help you retain the information that retrieving. Another thing that can actually make you fail your exam, no matter how intelligent you are, is when you do not know your examiner. Out of 100%, 50% is allocated to your studying conduct, and the other 50% is allocated to your conduct in exam. And your conduct in exam determines how well you've actually made research about the person taking the course or the organization that will be setting the exam. Understand how questions are set. Understand how you'll be able to answer those questions in order to get the required mark. Because if you study all along and you don't know how you'll be able to phrase your answer to suit their to satisfy them, you'll not be able to get the required score and you will fail. So at times you can read, you can remember everything in the exam, but the way you provide answers actually determines whether you will pass at the exam or not. So try as much as possible to research about the lecturer, what or the teacher, what satisfies this lecturer or teacher. How does this person want me to represent the answer? And this can be relative. So you need to be strategic. Like I said, you need to be strategic. Which lecturer actually wants me to go all in and provide more information about a certain subject matter? Which lecturer wants me to just give him a simple answer about a subject matter? Which lecturer wants me to provide the exact information from the notes to him? So you'll be able to know all these things, and this will help you make good decisions when you are providing answers, and you will pass exceedingly. But if you just blind out yourself from what the lecturer wants or what the examiners want, you will always fail your exam. And try as much as possible, look into past questions and look into how questions are set in order for you to be able to approach them very well. So if you look into all these things, you will always pass your exam, even if you are intelligent. So intelligence alone does not determine exam success. You have to be strategic and you have to make decisions and get feedback in order for you to get what you want. So you can also check out this other video